the neighbors are disturbed, and there is no kind of solution to a situation. But actually we feel that yes, there is a kind of, as you said, abuse or even noise and threatening and all these things are going on. So is this law also covers the purview of people who are suffering, or it is just that again coming back to a woman who will complain and then only she will be addressed?
The law of torts is taught in all law schools. However, there are no laws addressing those torts today in India, and many of the new law entrants who are studying law, they don't have this Protection of Domestic Violence Act in their curriculum. So I am very surprised actually what kind of an act it is created. And as you rightly said, where a woman is harassing a man or the public in general, there is no law right now which any man can take recourse to say that this is too much, now I can't take the continuous verbal assault.
I mean, doesn't it also falls under human rights? There is some fundamental rights as a being a human, whether you are man or a woman, it is secondary.
You are right. See, human rights are for larger issues generally. Wherever the word human rights comes into process, it's normally anything related to abuse by the government or by the police towards anybody. But what right now is happening is, if you are a man and if your wife is, say, very, very verbal and continuously talks and has very harsh voice,
the only one way is to be human.
She raises your blood pressure in a moment. In an instant, your blood pressure is elevated. You can't do much. You can't do anything against her, except for praying to the God that maybe she gets some allergy and she stops ranting.
There are so many jokes like before marriage she is Chandramukhi, and then after at the time of marriage Surajmukhi, and then
finally Jwalamukhi.
It has been taken lightly, but when it becomes a serious affair, that Jwalamukhi can really engulf the entire family. Secondly, I would like to know that when India is one of the emerging superpowers in the world, when we are enacting laws, being a very responsible country, we are like in an age where India is a force to reckon with. Do other countries also have similar laws?
And that's a very, very important question, whether other countries are having a law like Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. I don't think so, because no other country can bear up with such an unjust law. Very simply, how can the men of other country tolerate an act which totally cuts off their limbs, their tongue? They can't say anything against what the wife has said. Her word is believed by the courts as a gospel of truth.
But we see in United States, on different forums, in Europe also, there are a lot of frustration among the Western community that they also have very gender biased laws, that in terms of men did not have any rights when it comes to a dispute between a man and a woman. The entire episode is lopsided, one-sided. So when it comes to domestic violence, how do the other countries are dealing with this situation anyway?
See, in other countries, there is a slight difference, except in India, where urban areas women are liberated and they are independent and they are having their own thinking. In rural India, this problem is there, domestic violence is there, women are being abused, there are physical violences occurring. However, having said that, the woman in rural India may not be actually using this act at all. See, they are so downtrodden that they can't come up to the level of going to the police station and actually filing a complaint against their husbands. Their traditions, their
accessibility is very poor.
No, not only. In India, there is too much of sanskar. And that sanskar is what keeps a family united in the first place. So a sanskari wife or a wife who has a lot of respect for traditions, in the first place would never go to the police station and file a complaint against her in-laws. But what is happening in urban areas is, women, they actively go ahead file a case against the husband and the in-laws. She doesn't bother, I am working. She says, I am working, I am earning more than my husband, why do I care? And ultimately what happens is, once she is in the police station, the police, they are not sensitized to the level of understanding the delicate relations between a husband and wife or the family.
Now let us try to understand what happens when the woman approaches, what could be the kind of course, punishment in terms of this domestic violence act. It can lead to what extent?
It can lead to a great extent where there are various sections in the act, especially section 12 is the major section in this, which empowers a woman to file application before a magistrate, and after filing the application for domestic violence, she can take recourse to various orders, out of which one is protection orders. Now she can demand from the magistrate that in view of the offence committed under Domestic Violence Act, alleged offence, she can say, okay, now I want protection officer to protect me, and in the husband or any of his relative can be, sort of an injunction can be given against him from talking to her, from meeting her, from also meeting the children. See, this is a very new act, and people don't realize the complications involved in this. Entering the place of employment of the aggrieved person, or if the person aggrieved is a child, its school or any other place frequented by the aggrieved person. Attempting to communicate in any form whatsoever with the aggrieved person, including personal, oral or written or electronic or telephonic contact. So in a way, the Act wants to cut off any kind of conciliation between both of them.
Right. I mean, the relationship is, there is no room, no scope, there is no space provided for solution to the issue, or it will be just like, okay, the man has to stay. And now what happens? How will the women survive? About her survival, does she has entitled to maintenance or something?
Yeah, she is entitled to maintenance under the Act. Now there are residence orders which she can take recourse to, and then there are maintenance orders, monetary reliefs under section 20. But now I will first come back to the protection orders, where she has a right to ask the magistrate to pass an order where the husband can be restrained from alienating any assets, operating bank lockers or bank accounts used or held or enjoyed by both parties jointly by the aggrieved person and the respondent, or singly by the respondent, including her stridhan or any other property held either jointly by the parties or separately by them without the leave of the magistrate. Which means without the specific leave of the magistrate, you can't operate your own account, you can't open your own locker, right? If your entire business is dependent on operation of bank accounts, your business is freezed. This Act empowers the woman to go to the magistrate and say, okay, now I am harassed, please shut down the business of my husband. Then it not only respondent not only includes the husband, but also any of the members of the family. See, the beauty of DV Act, under Family Court Act, a wife can file a petition against the husband, or a husband can file a petition against the wife at the most for any disputes. Under DV Act, a wife is given a prerogative to file a number of cases against all the members of the family of the matrimonial home. So
does it
very shocking.
It's like a prejudice law against the whole idea of the family, like I mean, somewhere there is a inherent feeling that family is less important, and something that is what is written in the law, which is, somehow it is more important. Now coming back to again domestic violence, we were talking about domestic violence that is occurring. People are beating, men are beating women, and women are being exploited. how different it is in today's urban world compared to the rural world, where again we are coming back to the same issue, where we are talking about gender equality. The man has to work, the woman is working, both are working, they are running their show. So when it comes to maintenance, is the woman being expected that by default they do not work, or they need not be a working partner, they just have to be a claiming partner? Okay, while filing the DV Act, is there a law that investigates whether this woman is eligible to be able to be on her own feet, she can work, or also she needs to be a part of the employment exchange where she enrolls herself and then she is not getting any job, or just because she being a woman, being married, doesn't it discriminates women gender? I mean, this law doesn't it talks that women are weaker sex and it's not an equal sex? So when there is an inherent thing that is coming out of this law is men are superior to women, women are a weaker sex, they are not equal to men, so all the rights need to be given to women. So are we not, it's a discriminative law in itself?
The answer to your question is yes, it is absolutely discriminatory. However, when you ask me whether there is any recourse for any man or whether a man can have any say on this issue, absolutely no. The answer is no. A man has no say in any place. Now, interestingly, what it says is this clause provides that the magistrate may, after giving the aggrieved person is the wife and the respondent can be anybody, an opportunity of being heard, and on being prima facie satisfied that domestic violence has taken place or is likely to take place, may pass a protection order in favor of the aggrieved person. Now, pausing here for a minute, the word prima facie satisfied. Why is this word prima facie satisfied here? Shouldn't it be absolutely sure instead of the word prima facie?
The spirit of the law is let 100 criminals be free, but one innocent should not be punished.
Yes. So here is absolutely opposite. Let 100 innocent men be sacrificed at the cost of one lying woman. That is the idea behind this. It is absolutely unbelievable that the word prima facie is here. It has to be absolutely sure. The magistrate has to take into consideration whether an act had been committed or not. Tomorrow, does anybody pick you up from the street just because somebody is pointing finger at you, this man murdered somebody? Is it possible? This act gives that to the woman. Tomorrow she may say, my husband tried to rape me. You have no other choice. The magistrate will simply say, why would a woman come to me and say my husband tried to rape me? Whatever she has to say, I think she is saying it correctly. I can't presume her to be wrong. That is prima facie.
I mean, this is when we talk about families are a bonding which is very much emotional and a lot of psychological in nature. Other than other relationship where there are business crimes, where there is a robber who goes to the place, he robs. There is an intention for money, but family is governed with there is no emotion between a robber and the place he is robbing, a criminal. But within the family, there is a lot of emotional and psychological aspects. Is the law has got any provision to understand whether maybe the woman is suffering from a psychological disorder, whether she is in the normal state of mind, whether before filing this application she has to undergo a medical report where it is certified this woman is absolutely healthy, and because there can be an instance, and in many families, because of nowadays stress has become such a common part of our society, people are stressed and they don't know what they are doing. Sometimes they just come out with stories which they start believing into it. There was an instance which we saw I think a couple of years back. There was a boy who had seen an English movie and he was imitating the accent of an American, and then in media it was published that he is the reincarnation of Albert Einstein or something like that, and his mind was completely obsessed or hallucinated, whatever, by the fact that he is a rebirth of Albert Einstein. And after a few days it was discovered that it was because of the influence of the movie. What happens tomorrow, a family in which a woman or a person is hallucinated, and it expresses, she comes and she files a case in the DV, will the innocent family be punished?
The act presumes the husband to be an enemy of the wife. Very surprisingly. Husband and his relatives are enemies of the wife.
So I'll just like to, we'll take a short break and we'll come back.